And we are ready to begin. We're so pleased you're here. And as we say every time, we have waited for you your entire lives. But today you'll understand why. Because you are on the planet at this time to do something really wonderful. And we told you in 2008, we told you on that date that you would be here now to do something wonderful because you are the ones who came to usher in the new world as we've been speaking of. But now you can see it and now you'll start to understand it. And as we said on that first message in 2008, because there are cycles that you all move through in your lives and also on your planet. And so we said, if you think that you are accidental, you are not. And this is what we wanted you to understand. Everything that you've experienced over the many, many years, as long as you've been alive, have been to bring you to this point in time so that you could actualize your authentic self. That is why you were born. That's why you're here. No matter what that journey was, it was purposeful and everything you experienced was worth it. And we've done something a little different, though. We gave our messenger a complete philosophy for you to understand how you can now change your life to create the world that you want to see, because that's not what you're experiencing. And it's all timed, it's all energetic. So we've just revealed to him that everything we have given you has been aligned with the cosmic changes of your world. Now, none of you could have known that. He didn't know it either. And we've just revealed it because the day is the day it's meant to shift, that you're meant to come into more ownership. And last year, we told you on this date that you are more now. That's what we wanted you to understand, regardless of what you have thought about your life or what you've done or have not done. It was all purposeful and it was meant to be aligned on this date to come to greater awareness, because the synergy of the love that you're going to give yourselves is going to shift everything, not only in your life, but in your world. That's why you're here. Now, there's so many others who would never have any idea of what we're speaking about, but we know that you do because you felt it. You felt something's not right. I haven't gone to that place I'm supposed to be in my life yet. Today is that day that you're going to do it. And sometimes you need a little motivation, and sometimes that motivation is fear. And many of you have been feeling that. So we said, we're going to move that along now. Now, you all resist. Our messenger resisted as well. Last night, we had him put up these messages. He didn't even look at them. And we said, everyone won't believe it. See, he didn't believe it either. He didn't believe that we had been doing this for 36 years and it completely healed his body and it was meant to heal your world. That's what we're saying because it's a philosophy. You exist in consciousness, and we wanted you all to up level your consciousness so you could live in the world that you all wanted to see. And as we said in the beginning, the world you want to see is not guaranteed, meaning you have to do something. And what you have to do, that crazy thing that you have to do, is love yourself, is to understand how important you are at this moment. That's why we said it. We know you don't hear us all the time, so that's why we laid it out. And but we've done something else. We want you to pay attention to this, and we've said it before, but today you'll get it. We've given you everything in order. If you go back to 2024 and read the dates of those messages leading up to next week to the 15th, you'll see that we put it in order because you're going to move through experiences in your world and in your life that these messages will help you. We'll, of course, give you more, but we've done it all in advance. And so, what we need to do to move things forward, our messenger wasn't even going to do this. This is what he did. He put all this up last night, and then he thought, oh, maybe I should do a channeling session. That's the resistance you see that you all have. And so we pushed him. We said, please put it together. And that's why you're here. And we're so pleased because we wanted you to understand. But then we still needed to push a little bit more because each of you will have things in your life that will motivate you in a little different way. So what we did earlier, we had on his phone while he's resting to try to get ready for this, we had it pop up that his friend, Ananda Lewis, passed away. She was only 52. And see, when you have that kind of hit to you, you start to think about, what am I doing? How long do I have? And this is what we're saying to all of you, because we want you to understand how vital you are to be on the planet at this time. But then we took it even further, and we said nothing is accidental. Recently, we've had him listening to C.S. Lewis. He didn't know why he was doing that, except C.S. kept telling him, you're a chosen one. You're supposed to be doing this. And he was running from it. And every time he would find a video, he would go there and he would hear the same thing. We're saying this because you each have heard things like that, and then you kind of move from it, or you don't believe it. Or the fact is, what happens is you don't believe yourself. And we just want to tell you that's normal. You're going to doubt yourself, but we're telling you we know who you are. And we've given you messages on your birthday, as we said in 2012, so that you would remember that you were on the earth at this time to do something extraordinary. So then after that, he kept looking. He said, Ananda Lewis died. Then he looked at C.S. Lewis's, when he died, he only did that today. See, we sent him all of this a long time ago. And then he looked, and it was November 22nd of 1963. And he's mentioned that date before. Many of you might not know that, but that's when John Kennedy was assassinated. And that was the moment he awakened to why he was here. He was 13 years old. That was it. And this is the alignment that we're talking about. Nothing is accidental. And if you read through the messages that we put on the site for today on June 11th, starting from 2008, and just read it all the way through, you will see it's a progression. It's a progression where you come to accept yourselves more. We're saying this because we want you to stop judging yourselves because you think that you should have done it or been there. You didn't. You weren't supposed to. The timing is always perfect. And we're saying that you have arrived here at just the right time. It just depends if you're going to take the next step. And what we've also told him that he has to take the next step, and we've been putting it out there for the longest time, but we did something extraordinary. We had him put up messages for several days over different years because we wanted you to see that what he has done, he sat down for 36 years and wrote out a plan, a guiding plan for you all. And he did it every single day. He had no clue as to what he was doing. And it was so challenging because no one had ever done that before in history. And he couldn't accept it, and neither could many of you. We're saying this because you have to accept something more, something beyond what you have experienced, something beyond what you have known. Your world does not evolve or change unless more of you are willing to embrace that unknown. But that's also the thing that you've come to fear. But that was programming. You were just taught that when you were younger, and now is the time to move beyond it. When we first began, we want you to tell you where you are today and why we've been talking about money so much. Because you're supposed to have it. You're supposed to have bunches of it because you're that abundant in your soul. And that's what's meant to be come into the world now. When we first convinced him to begin, we had him use one message that we had given him in 2017 about money, love, power, and control. Because we said that's what you're going to move through in your world, and that's what you're going to be experiencing, and you each have experienced that in your lives. And now is the time to move beyond it, because those are generational things that you have adopted, and it's time to break them, you see? Because our messenger couldn't charge enough money for the work we had given him because of this generational belief that he held, and also because he loves you all so much. And that's something that many of you have, you empaths, you people who just love everyone else, but you haven't shifted it into loving yourselves enough to bring in the abundance, and then you allow others to take over the world, which is what you're seeing. We told you that was going to occur. You have you have shifts that happen in your world that are energetic, you see. And then, but they affect you emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And so it's up to you to decide, how is this affecting my life? What is it causing me to do? And so that's why a full moon, when there's so much energy coming through, it's awakening you to something. And sometimes you might have been a little uncomfortable. You could have been a little afraid or whatever it was, but that's purposeful. All it's doing is awakening you to the next version of who you're meant to be in this life. There's none of you who should not be living these wonderful, brilliant lives, but you have to take the time to understand your individual journey. It's different for each of you, but they're purposeful. Now, we know that it's you because you wouldn't be listening to us unless you were part of the tribe, part of the ones that were supposed to uplift the world. We said you're moving into the age of Aquarius or the fifth dimension, and that means when you move to a higher state of consciousness. So we had to take our messenger through the whole thing. We had to have him suffer. Well, he didn't have to do that. He accepted it. He accepted this particular path because he knew that when he got here, he would, like now, start to tell you all what he has, and he becomes the millionaire. And that's what we told him he was going to do. He's going to be the first millionaire in his family because we have given him something that's so valuable that it's just going to produce that kind of wealth. We have answered every question that you have. Now, he doesn't remember them. So he hasn't integrated all of them. He just wrote them. That's all. He was a complete messenger, and we told him he was just a channel. He has no awareness of what happened. He won't even remember much of this. That's just what he chose to do in this lifetime. But that's great for the rest of you now because you have a plan. You have things that you will do every single day with our work that just gets you to this higher state of understanding, and then you start to shift your entire planet. Now, the reason that things look a little shaky, especially in the United States, which is where we began, and we want to go back there because many of you would not remember that we said you were moving through a restructuring and the United States would lead the way. Now, many did not understand that. Our messenger didn't either. So don't judge yourselves. That's because there was an energetic shift that was occurring. When the United States was formed, the planet Pluto was moving. There were energies that happened at a certain time. And so when you broke away from England, you said, we don't want to have a king anymore. And so you wanted to create something different. And you said, we're going to create a land that's free and equal for all and inclusive. But you didn't do that. And so then 248 years pass and you're back here. And so now you're looking at, we're going to do it now. And the people who are going to do it are you. This is why we wanted you to understand how vital you are. And every experience that you've had that you was difficult or challenging, that's one that you accepted because you're moving through it now. You can. You can step through it because it's all in your consciousness. And your ancestors are counting on you to do that, which is why we gave you the message. Your ancestors are watching with curiosity, you see? Because when you come into the physical plane, you have threads of consciousness that you pass along. And this lifetime, you decided that you were going to go much higher than your ancestors could have ever done. And we know it's you because you wouldn't be listening to us. And we're saying this, and you may not have done it yet, and you don't believe it, but we're telling you that's who you are. The law of attraction is real. You are never in an accidental place. You're always showing up at the right place, but you still have to move through all the shame and the embarrassment and all those things, which we've written all. We had to take our messenger through all of it. And the last one was the money because he could not have done anything unless he knew that his ego wasn't involved in what we had given him. And that started on that day that we had him put that message in February 19th of 1989. That's how long it took to get to here because he had to know that it was going to be pure. And then he can get motivated even more when he sees the things that are going on in your world. He says, oh, wait a minute, the energy didn't change. Not enough people are awakened. So we had him see all of this again today because we told him he didn't believe it either. Many of you don't believe these things. He had this ancient memory that seems like so ridiculous, but you all have it. We're saying you are eternal spiritual beings. You're not going to remember all of that, and it's whatever you do remember is going to be appropriate for each of you. That's what we're saying. And so now it's that time where more of you are going to start to awaken. And this is why we've laid out everything in the manner that we have. And this is not accidental that it came together on this date. We want you to understand because you're going to see the alignment. When you start looking at your world in the next couple of days, there will be events occurring that could cause you to be a little uncomfortable, but we're saying they're purposeful. You can't evolve if you're unwilling to see what wasn't corrected within you and within your society, within your world. What we have given you is something for your entire planet, you see, because the energies are everywhere. And the wars and all the things that you're seeing occurring are because of the changes of the energies. And you each get to make a choice as to what you're going to do. And we know that when you start having guidance, which we've provided, that you start to go in a completely different direction. And then if enough of you do that, the energies shift. Now, the energies are going to continue to change because your planets are already predestined to do that. It just depends on what you're going to do with it, how you're going to respond. And the resistance is what gives you all trouble. But please understand that you accepted that the resistance is also a signal. So we don't want you to judge yourself when you feel it and you're holding yourselves back. It's because there's this greater place that you're wanting to go to, but you haven't done it yet. So that's that unknown again. And so then little by little, we tell you in increments, you do that, you take the next step. But you all have it. We know that you do because we've seen it. We can say that because we have seen it and we've given him all of it. He's seen everything. He doesn't remember it, but we've given it to him. And that's what we wanted to point out to all of you. You have something within you that gets activated at a different time. That's your DNA, and it gets activated. And then you start to gain this greater awareness. And then the thing that you start to feel is this acceptance of yourself. There's nothing more valuable and more powerful than for you to love yourself, because that is an energy. It's the most powerful energy that you hold. But you also have trauma, you have generational trauma, you have all those things, but then you've also been taught other things as you've lived in this life. You've started to believe certain things that weren't for your highest good. And that happens because others have been in control, which is why we gave you that message about the control, the power, money, love, and control. It's been passed on for generations, eons, your entire planet. But now is the time that you can all start to change that. And this is why we have done everything. And this is why he has been so adamant about getting this work out, because there's a little more urgency at this time. And you felt it. You felt it within yourself, something pressing on you, something that you know that is there. And we're saying, yes, and you'll just do it, but we want you to do it gently now. We want you to do it easily. That's why, because if you start fighting against it, it makes it worse. We just want you to relax into it and just say, wait a minute, I'm here to do something incredible. I just haven't understood it all fully. I haven't accepted it, but I'm on my path. That's what you are. And so all we did is my messenger just agreed to go through all these things in his life so he could write it all down and give it to you. And it was so difficult for many of you, especially him, because you've never seen it before. And so the message that we had him put up today, because we have to accept this, he has to accept it, is that everyone won't believe it. And you have to decide if you are one who will believe it, because we've laid it out and we've done it for days and days and days to show you how you grow in your acceptance of yourself. You grow in your consciousness. You grow in your awareness, and you do it little by little, and you use linear time. We have not done that. We don't operate in linear time. Everything is happening in the now. That's why he doesn't remember anything that's going on. You see, he could go through his entire life and not have been aware of what was in there. But we also said we don't want him to do that anymore, because there are many of your leaders who have gone to their death before their works are recognized because no one understood it. We said we don't want you to do that. So this is the day that we're changing it. We've given him orders, so to speak, that he has to take the next step, because we want all of you to do that. And so we've laid it out. We said we're going to leave the program. We want people to come into it. They can come into it now, but then next week it's changed, because nobody will move. You won't do it because you keep doubting and you keep and then nothing happens, and then you all suffer. And he's been doing that so much because he just loves you so much. He just thought maybe if he waited long enough. That's what you all do. You wait. And this is what we gave you on December 21st of 2012, because that was another portal that you moved through. We told you then to wait. That was the message we gave you, because many of you thought your world was ending because the Mayan calendar ended. We said, no, that's not what's happening. You're building a new one. We were just giving you all the ways of doing that, and we did it all in 2012. Now, we've done it all throughout, but that was a pivotal year, and we put everything in 2012. And all you'd have to do is just go through and reinterpret all of it, and you would understand how great you are, which is what we wanted. And so now we have to get him to finish, but we had to wait for certain things to happen. We had to wait for the alignment of everything to make sense. We had to wait for all the events to occur. We had to wait for Peyton to show up, his new assistant. But we didn't have to wait. He had to pay attention. See, because that was there. You each missed things. Peyton had contacted Roger and he ignored it. We're saying this because you each have done that. You ignored these things. Then he finally saw it and he said, okay, fine. Now let's go. This is where you are now in your lives. We want you to really start to take this in. And as we move through your questions, you will start to understand more of it. Because again, we know who you are and we know why you're here. And we know you're here to do something really magnificent, no matter how you have judged it or thought about yourself. The other thing that's gone on for many of you, you think that your contribution isn't enough. You think that your life is not going to make that much of a difference. And we need you to really get rid of that one, because your life is enormous, and your contribution to especially when their collective contribution is, you could shift everything. But what's happened is you've subjugated yourself to the thoughts of many others, and so you've thought you were inadequate. None of you are that. which is why we've put Alfred Adler in our work, you see, because that's one of the things so many of you move through is this feeling of inadequacy or the imposter syndrome, and you never have that. All you're doing is figuring out and accepting and finally embodying that authentic self that is within you. And we're telling you that it's brilliant. And that's why we're so happy that you're here. So what we want to do is we want to start taking your questions because we want to have all of this for those who will listen later. And so again, we're doing this a little differently. So we have Peyton here. We're going to have we don't have this set up in the same way. We're just going to wing it today. So Peyton, we'll just let you get the people to ask the questions, and we'll just go through it that way.
I've realized that my job isn't in alignment with who I want to be.
Hmm.
I've had the tendency to take jobs for survival, but I want more.
Hmm.
I feel like things are impossible. How do I navigate this transition of leaving my job while knowing it's not in alignment?
Oh, thank you for that because that's where you all are. And this is why it's so perfect for you to say that. Now, first of all, we don't want you to judge yourself because what you've just taught, what you just did, you came to a greater awareness. You've all been stuck in places in different ways, in jobs or relationships or whatever it is. But that was also set up for you so that you could come to the moment where you could realize this is not making me feel good. It's not causing me to love myself. So we don't, so but first, you're not going to judge yourself because you're there. You have a job. That's okay. So now you're going to start planning. And this is what we have you do. You take the awareness of that and congratulate yourself that you have the awareness now. And so now you're going to start to look at the thing that you want to do. And you're going to massage it into your brain. And that what we mean by that, you're going to start to envision it. You're going to start to look at it and ask yourself new questions. What is it that I want to do? What gives me the greatest joy? How can I bring it about? And then we want you to know that as you keep moving through that process, it's going to begin to happen. Not right away or tomorrow, but it will occur because now you're given permission to the universe to allow those things to become made aware to you and to start to come. So we're thrilled that you mentioned that because many of you are in that place now. You're supposed to be because that's why your world is changing so that you could come to that next authentic place of where you want to go. So this is thrilling for us. We know it doesn't feel that way to you because you had to get down, you had to like surrender to the fact that I don't like this. And that can be horrible at times. But we're saying that that's a great thing because you're coming to awareness. Thank you so much. Next question.
When is the money going to shift?
Now. This is
Mm,
the time. This is exactly the time. We're telling you, this is why we did this. We're talking about money. That's what we're saying because we know that all of you are here for that. And we're saying this because, see, you're going to use the money in a different way. You're going to use it not just for your selfish needs or all that. You know that. You've never been that person. And so now you're going to let down the barriers that have been generational, that just kept it out of your consciousness. That's all. That's why we're doing this with our messenger. And so then, is the moment you start doing that, you're going to see things start to open up in a new way. And also, the energies of your universe are really conducive for that at this time. That's why we're talking about it. You can go on your internet and see so many others saying the same thing. We're not making this up. There are many people who know that because you're seeing your world moving in a way that you didn't like because you are here to shift it. And money is just energy. We want you to understand this. You all think about the possessions and money at that because they're material things. However, it's the energy of it. And the energy is of you loving yourself. And that is a generational process that you're moving through at this time. And it's a big one. So we're saying this because what we felt from that is you thinking something was horrible with you because you haven't done it yet and you haven't gotten there. We're saying that you're awakening to it now, and we just want you to let go of the resistance to it and be patient with yourself because it's going to come about. This is why we give you things in a way that you do it day by day because it changes your consciousness and it releases the limitations that have been there. So you're in the great place. So thank you for that. Next question.
am I a channel for the future or am I for the now?
Are you for the future or what?
Am I a channel for the future or am I for the now?
Well, they're both. See, this is why we talk about, we know that you have trouble with time. So we say everything is happening now. So the decision that you make that you're a channel for for now, you're creating the future. That's what you're all doing. And so we don't want you to make this separation. What's happening is, yes, this is wonderful because you are coming aware of the fact that you are a channel and that you're allowing that to come about. And so because you're doing that now, you will create that future. You see? So we don't want you to make it's hard to put that together for you. We understand, but you are doing it now. You just came to that awareness, and we're first we want to say thank you for mentioning that. Thank you for saying it because that's not something that you felt comfortable with before because you were coming to an awareness within you that you had a greater connection to higher consciousness, to the universe. And so now you're giving yourself permission to allow it to develop. And so as you do that, you're creating your future. What we gave you on December 31st of 2012 was that you are creating your future. You just wouldn't have understood it then, but you will understand it now. And so we're so grateful that you are giving yourself permission to move to that next level of who you're meant to be. Thank you.
I always feel I'm at a door or on the edge, but nothing ever happens. It's been years feeling this. I feel things so strong. I sometimes see things, but again, nothing happens.
See, we couldn't have planned this any better. See, we told you we knew why you were here. You're all in the same place. It's perfect. And now it's going to shift just because of the words, just because of the belief that's going to start to come. We don't want you to judge yourself. You've taken on so much. Many of you have struggled. You have suffered. You've gone through so many things, but you did that so you could be here now to start to reverse it. And the minute you start, and the way that you reverse it is in your consciousness, and it just takes a little time. But for you to be that vulnerable and that honest about that, oh, we love you for that because that's what we want all of you to understand. This is why we're doing this with our messenger. He's had all of this for years, and he's just now saying, okay, now this is when it's going to happen. But that is because, again, we want you to understand this. It's the alignment. The alignment of your universe is just so potent at this time that for all of you to take that next step. You just have to decide if you're going to do it. And the next step is into embracing who you are, who you want to become. Now, that doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to go out and, get a lot of money right away, but it will be if you let go of the disbelief of what you can accomplish. That's all. And so you're each are being moved to those next levels of yourselves, and that's what we love so much. Thank you.
What is it that I'm waiting for?
Hmm. You're waiting for self-acceptance. And we love it. It's the same for all of you. We want you to understand something. You're continually evolving. You don't get there right away. You don't get to any place because it's ongoing. And so, but there are particular times in your life and in your world where it is becomes more apparent to you that you want more. That is why you're here because you want more, but the more is of loving you. And what that requires is you moving through the blockages. Please understand, we take you through a process. This is what our work is about. It's just a day by day thing, and we've only given you a portion of it, which we've mentioned often, and that's why we're changing things because we have so much that all of you could be the greatest people on the planet if our messenger puts it all together for you. That's all. And so, but it's a process because you have limitations that have existed in your lineage that you haven't moved over yet. That's all. And so once you start doing it and doing it in an organized way, this is why we said our work is using science. We use neuroscience and cognitive behavior training. That's why you do it every day and then you notice the differences every day. So, but the same thing is occurring in your world. That's what nothing is happening accidentally. All the chaos, the division, all those things are there to motivate you to take that next step into loving yourself and becoming who you're meant to be. Now, we're going to say this because some of you will not know what that is yet. And so we need you to be patient because you've blocked it off, or you thought it's not you, or you had the imposter syndrome, or whatever it might have been. But that's an energetic choice again, and it's a process that you will move through. But the fact that you're mentioning it now, it's at the right time, and so you're going to see more of it's going to start to open up. But we again, with so many of you, we're feeling this self judgment, and we don't want you to have that. We want you to have awareness. We want you to have gratitude. And you'll see that we gave you in that message. If you see the string of messages that we gave you today, and as you go through them, one of them said forgiveness and gratitude work together. Because, see, when you're forgiving yourself, you're going to understand that you didn't do anything wrong and you were just learning and you were just coming to greater awareness. And then you start to experience gratitude. And gratitude is a different energy. Now you're feeling, oh, wow, my life is wonderful. But it's a process, you see. So, and again, every message that we gave you on this date, you'll see that it's going to take you to another level of understanding who you are. And that's your process. Thank you.
Have I been doing the correct work for myself to meet the needs of my soul?
Yes. You're gonna all think we made this up. Well, we did in a sense, but we gave you that message too. And you'll see that we use quotation marks because we knew that you would be judging yourself. We put right in quotes because yes, you did, because you had to. You just might have judged it in a different way. That's why we put the message in there. And you'll see they're all in alignment here. And you're going to wonder, how did we do that? It's because we want you to understand that we know who you are and we know that you're here for a reason at this time. And so you made all the right choices because you had to. The things that you thought you screwed up, you had to do that so you can make a new choice. But then, as a result of that, you also gained greater awareness. And that's what many of you miss so often when you're judging yourself to what you did or went in the wrong direction as you think of it. We know that's never that. But it takes a while for you to change your perception and to see, oh, I had to do that because that was part of my life plan. And now I have greater awareness. So we have you create a gratitude journal because when you come to those awarenesses, you can write them down and then you'll remember them when you're in those places that you're feeling low and judging yourself because you've forgotten what you've done. You've forgotten the journey that you took and how valuable it was and what you've accomplished. And we're going to get you to see so much more of it. But thank you for that because that brought so much awareness to everyone else.
How can I hear guidance more clearly so that I can make the changes that I want to make in my life? I often feel stuck and am seeking answers but can't hear them.
You can, you just think that you can't. That's all. And so we give you a process. This is why we said we've used science in this and we want you to understand it. Um, We had our messenger, and he did this every single day. He would sit down and he would meditate first and get some information for us. He sometimes he didn't want to do it, and then he would think nothing's coming through, but then he would sit there enough and he'd start to relax, and then you start to hear your higher self. But it took time. And so this is why we take you through a process. And we gave you something that you would understand now. It's practice, patience, and persistence. That's how you get to anywhere. And that's what we call our three P's. And so you just have to practice being relaxed enough with yourself because many of you have not done that. You've been taught to not be calm, not to do all of those things you've been taught. And so then, if you can set up a routine, you've heard many talk about your morning routines. That's what we had our messenger do. It's a morning routine that he would say, I'm going to do this. And we want you to understand the importance of this because many of you, especially now, are rushing around and trying to accomplish and trying to create. And then you lose sight of why you're here, that you're here to enjoy yourself. So when you do your morning routine, you say, okay, I'm going to take this time now, no matter what's going on, and I'm going to love myself. I'm just going to give myself that energy. And then miraculously, what starts to happen as you practice it long enough, more things come to you. You start to get a new idea. Oh, I want to do that now. Oh, now I'm going to do that thing. But you have to start to develop the routine, and that means breaking down the old patterns of what you've been doing. That's why we say we're using cognitive behavior training to break those routines that you've each had about telling yourself you can't do something because you can. You just needed a system, and we've given you a system. to be able to accomplish it. So, but thank you for saying that because now you've demonstrated what so many feel, and this is again what you're each meant to do, which is why we bring you together in our groups because when you start seeing that you have shared difficulties, challenges, you're not so hard on yourselves, and then you start to form this cooperative agreement of moving to that higher state of consciousness. So, thank you for helping us all.
How do I help my spouse become more in tune with the energies? We are not aligned, and a lot of times I try to ignore his negativity so that I can continue to grow.
Okay, you're seeing the negativity because you wanted to love yourself. It's all you can't evolve without seeing the negativity. You're not going to stay there. But when you see it, you say, "Oh, that means I'm supposed to awaken to another part of me that I've been denying. That means I'm supposed to, this is just a signal. This is just an alert that's telling me I want to move in a new direction." Now, some of you will stay away from anything, you'll run from anything that's negative, and you'll think that that's going to help you. We have you think we want you to become more empowered. So you get to a place where you see beyond what you have judged to be negativity or what you have experienced to be that, you see? And then you start to form a new awareness. And that is a different way of thinking, which is all everything we've given you is get you to this higher state of consciousness where you see beyond that. Now, we know that it's challenging now because you're seeing so much of it in your world, which is why we sent you our messenger. And that's why he had to be hidden for so long because he had to gain all of this. He had to come into this with so much love for all of you to balance out what was happening. So he had to see everything and experience so much of it to make it easier for many of you. But we don't want you to run from things like that. We're saying if you see it, that means that your higher self said, "We want you to pay attention to this here." You're not going to stay there always, but don't because I want to say this. It feels like you're judging yourself for running into the negativity when it shows up. We want you to change your perception of that, saying, "Oh, okay, I'm seeing this now, which means I'm not vibrating at the level that I want to in my life, and that's why I am attracting this to me now." So I'm not going to judge myself. I'm just going to make that shift in the moment. And you can only make the shift in that moment. Then you start to build up this resilience, you see, where you start to, then you don't need to necessarily bring those things in. But also, you're living in a world now where you're going to see many things. And so we want you to be able to rise above it because that's when you are embracing more of your authentic selves. Thank you.
I have recently declared I am not becoming a master. I am already a master, and that is why I am here. I
Yes.
agreed to remember, and I am.
Yes.
I keep seeing a name and know I have had near meet experiences with someone. We both are aware of each other. Can you talk about whether or not some of us plan to meet before we come here? If
Yes.
everything is purposeful and on time, should I expect us to meet?
Yes, he just gave chills to our messenger. There's just so much moving through because that's exactly what we wanted you to understand. Yes, and you're coming to such awareness and you are a master. And we're so grateful that you said those words because most of you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't say those words, so you're embracing them now. And you're doing that from a place that is so pure because it's not your ego. You just came to this acceptance and that awareness, and so you're going to start embodying that for so many others. And that's why those, and we call it your soul family. You start meeting them, they start showing up, and you know when it happens. And so and it's just something that comes about. But because you're making that connection, we could not be more grateful. And we just want you to keep embracing it. And you're not going to stay there all the time. You're going to have your doubts. You're going to go back and forth, but you made a huge shift in that. And so, those times where it feels like you're falling off, that's okay because now you're going to go to a higher level. But just what you said, being willing to embrace and those words, we couldn't get our messenger to do that forever. So we're pleased. And so, because this is because you all are masters. That's what we want you to come to. But because of your individual paths, and your lineage, you're not going to always accept that or understand it. And because some of you will think that if you're doing that, you're being egotistic or something like that. But we know that's not you, because we know that you have come to this higher state of love. And that's what we know many of you are coming to now, which is exactly what we wanted. So thank you for that, because now you've given others permission. This is what we want you to understand. Every time you say something and you acknowledge something, it gives others permission to do the same thing. We're grateful. Thank you.
How will the monetary system be changing?
It'll be changing when you start to love yourself a lot more. Now, we're saying you in the collective sense. Each of you each came to do something that is within you, and it gets activated at the right time, and it gets activated within your life and your divine plan at the right time. But right now, it's happening for your planet. And you're all being motivated because you're looking at things and saying, wait a minute, I don't like this. This is not good. That's why you're here. And so that's how you're going to change it. When we first began, we're going to go back there because you brought up the wonderful thing. Okay, this is going to be a lot. We said you move through generational changes, and we also said that you're going. Sometimes you bring in really horrible conditions. Sometimes you bring in leaders like a Hitler, and some of you thought, well, why would we do that? Because you start to see how you've been indoctrinated. You start to understand that that's what happened there. That people started to believe in this one person and passed on this kind of ideology to everyone else, and then everyone started following it. And then you wonder, well, how'd that go on? Because you hadn't had control of your minds. Well, we said we're giving you control of your consciousness. That's much more powerful than anything. So, but it's also a shift in the collective consciousness. So the more of you who start to embrace who you are and that connection, your connection to source, your connection to God, the higher self, however you think of it, the more of you who do that and choose to remember that, then everything starts to change. And you are listen, you're bringing about a different kind of energy, you see, and that's what's going to bring wealth to all of you. And this is what we've been guiding you to, because we know who you are. And the more of you who start to embrace that authentic self, because that's connected to what you came here to do. Again, it's going to be different for each of you, but it's something that is within your soul and it's part of your contract, so to speak. And more of you are doing it now, but you're being motivated by the changes of the energies on your planet. And so we're so grateful that you're here. Thank you.
When we find our authentic self and start living it, will this
Mhm.
help others during this restructuring period?
Oh, absolutely. That's why you're here. You're here to be a leader. You're here to embody who you are so that you can help others. You each are doing that. We just gave our messenger a way of doing it. That was his thing. But so that we're gonna do this so you get it. He's quite aware of everything that he went through in his life and how terrible, how horrible, all those things. He's quite aware of it, but he also knows now that he accepted it because he couldn't be here and giving you this. And then you're going to accept it, and then you're going to give it to others because you're going to, you each have a limited amount of physical existence that you're going to be on the planet. And so what you're going to do is take what we have given through him, you're going to ingest it, and then you're going to embody it and give it to others. Yes, that's exactly it. That's how it works. That's evolution. We've given you so many messages about evolution and how it all works, or evolving, because that's what you're doing and you're doing constantly. But if not enough of you do it in the way that's bringing you what you want, then you end up with a world that doesn't look like what you want. And that's what many of you are feeling or seeing now. But we want to tell you, when we gave you the Hitler reference before, and we showed you the message, we gave you that in 2020. Many of you didn't understand, but we also said Hitler also went to heaven. And that was so challenging for people to hear. But what we wanted you to understand, we're talking about energies. All of you are divine beings. You come into the world at different times to do different things. And some people come in to do those lower vibrational things. But then what happens is it causes the rest of you to reach for a higher state, you see? And so you all end up in the same place. which is that heaven that you've been seeking. You are here. And we're saying you to all of you who would hear us, because you would only hear us unless you are on this path. We just need more of you to remember. That's all. And so the more of you who do it, you see this huge shift. The shift is going to keep happening because that's what you're in right now. And it's just happened. That's why in the last couple of weeks, we gave you so many threads of messages because there were all those energies were changing, and we knew we wanted to build you up to this weekend. That's what's going to happen. We want you to see how we planned this, and you will see it in all the messages that we've given you last year in 2024 and beyond. But just 2024, we were being a little more direct because we knew where you would be now. And so in the United States, you're going to see certain progressions of things happening. And you're going to get to Saturday, where you're going to see things going on in the United States, which is going to affect the rest of the world. And there are going to be protests, and there's going to be demonstrations, and there are going to be exhibitions of different things. And you're going to choose what you want to be a part of. You see? And that choice is within you. Now, we think that more of you want to be a part of love because you're going to be seeing some who are projecting war and weapons and all of those so that you can kill yourselves again. We don't think that's you. And so you're going to put your energy in somewhere else. Now, in the protest that you're going to be seeing, we want you to understand what it's about. It's more people awakening to wanting more for themselves, but it's about love. And you're going to see that they're going to be much more inclusive. And there'll be others who will try to take that down, who say, no, you can't do that. And that's been a generational thing that's gone on for all of you, which is why you're here now to shift it. You're here to create that new world. So we're so pleased that you're going to do that. Thank you.
Is it possible to create wealth when I am numb? I don't have a job, motivation, skills, or interests.
Well, you're surrendering. You can create wealth in any way you want. And so, what we're feeling from that, you're feeling down and numb and all of that because you needed to surrender. We've done that to our messenger. We've talked about that many times where he had to get down on his knees sometimes. And that's what you're feeling. And so, we don't want you to judge yourself that you're there, first of all, because now you have the opportunity. We want you to embrace it. You don't have to run out and do anything. We just want you to embrace where you are and why you're feeling numb. Because the only reason you're feeling numb is that you've talked yourself out of who you could become. And not you necessarily, but you've learned it. We want more of you to get that aspect because then you start judging yourself instead of recognizing that you just accepted a different belief, which was generational. You were programmed in a different way. You all are when you come into the world. And so sometimes when you get to that numb place, it gives you an opportunity. Go out. We want you to do something that's just, okay, I'm just going to surrender. I'm going to see what's going to come up. Do something that gives you joy. Go for a walk. Go just keep giving yourself things that people wouldn't even understand why you're doing it. But you're going to know that you're finally giving yourself the permission to love yourself. The only reason you're feeling numb is that you've been taught you couldn't do that. That's all. And so it's a process because it's been there for a long time because we can feel that. And so you're just going to have to give yourself time to move through it, and you're going to move through it incrementally, and you're going to do it every day. And one thing that we want you to do is when you're feeling numb, we want you to sit there with it. And this is our sit in it technique. And we want you to just sit there and don't have to do anything. You're just going to sit there with yourself and say, I'm feeling numb. And then you're just going to say, why? You're just going to just sit with it. And then the more you do that, something's going to come about. You're going to hear your higher self speaking to you. This is why. And you're going to start to find something that motivates you again. And then as you do that, so we don't want you to, it's not going to, you don't expect it to happen right away. You're going to need some practice because you've been doing this other thing for a long time. And so then gradually, day by day, you're going to say, oh, wow, okay, I'm feeling a little different today. And then now I'm feeling now I remember what I wanted to do because it's probably there and probably at your childhood and you've blocked it out. So don't worry because you're at the period, you all are. You're at the period of activation. And that's why the energies are what they are to bring you to that greater awareness. And so, but we want to thank you, first of all, for saying it. We wanted more of you to become vulnerable. When you become vulnerable, you can't imagine what starts to happen. You let go of that resistance and more things start to come through. So we don't want you to judge yourself. We just want you to start a new practice of loving yourself and doing whatever you can every day to give yourself some comfort, regardless of what anyone else thinks about what you're doing. Because that's another thing that's been going on for you. You've been worried about what others think, and you shouldn't be in this place. That's not true. You're supposed to be exactly where you are. And we just want you to love yourself. Thank you.
I can feel others a lot as an empath. I am so much better about knowing when it is me or them.
Mhm.
Can you give me ways I can feel confident that I can be around others and interact in the world and feel myself without taking their feelings on as if an open vessel? Should
Well,
I
we don't
set
want.
an intention?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Should I set an intention?
You just did it. Thank you. We wanted to get that last. You just did it because you said that. And so, the intention that you set is that you wanted to know the difference, and now you will. Okay. We want you to appreciate the fact that you can feel that from others. That's such a wonderful position and wonderful quality and skill to have. But then we want you to love yourself because now you've recognized that sometimes you can take it too far. Our messenger's done that most of his life. And so this is why we're having him change. So we do understand it. We're with you on that. But then you say, wait a minute. I'm supposed to be happy as well. I'm supposed to have everything. And so now you're going to start to set up boundaries, you see? And those boundaries are in your consciousness, that's all, because you're quite aware of what you're doing. Now, you're always giving to another, so we don't want you to judge yourself for doing that. What you give to another, you give to yourself as well. You just not maybe not be aware of that in the moment that you're doing it. But what we're feeling is that you feel that you're overdoing it because you're so empathic and you just have to do it, all of that. So, but you came now to a greater awareness, which is going to help everyone else because you said, okay, now I need to make an adjustment. I can feel this, but I know I can't. We gave you a message that you'll understand now. A long time ago, but we said there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. And so when you can start making that distinction, you see, because sometimes you're trying to help people because that sympathy thing comes in. And we don't want you to do that because that causes them to be disempowered. But when you can have empathy, and just feel for them. You're not taking on their stuff. You're understanding that you know they have so much more that they can do. So now you're giving them the energy of encouragement. That's quite different. And so when you start figuring out that difference, you won't go into the other thing. And that's the when you're working from that the sympathy thing, feeling sorry for them. That's just a reflection of things within your own path that you're still moving through. And so we just want you to understand that difference. But we think you're coming to that quite clearly. Thank you.
I meditate daily to claim my true identity as the energy of love, having a human experience, a
Mm-hmm.
divine blueprint, and for the first time, I am able to connect with my higher self like a whisper.
Mm-hmm.
Is the pain in my lower back fear that is trapped, fear being released, or run-of-the-mill back pain?
No, it's there's no run-of-the-mill back pain, first of all, but we're so glad that you've said that because many of you will think that. And our messenger had that for a long time as well. It's no, but we're also saying that there's a little bit of um, a resistance to abundance coming through there because you're doing this work and you're understanding it, but we want you to embrace the energy of abundance a bit more in your own life as you're getting to this other place because see they're supposed to work together and so we're feeling that that's what's happening. And as you start relaxing with that and appreciating the level that you've reached now and understand that it's really valuable, we want you to, if you just think, wow, what I'm doing now, what I'm able to do has value, not just for me, for so many others. And as you start to embrace that, and you'll figure out different ways of doing that, and as that, you'll start to see that that pain starts to dissipate quite a bit. And we've talked about that quite so often because our messenger used to have all of that stuff, and we talked about Dr. John Sarno, which is another person who came in and brought you all a different level of awareness of why you might accept some body aches and things that are generational. You see. So, but for you, we feel because you've come into this new place that we want you to appreciate the value of it, and then you'll know what you're going to do with it too. But yeah, you're in a really great place though where you're going. Thank you.
I feel like I have had a block when it comes to selling. The idea of selling to people feels uncomfortable and doesn't resonate, and yet I have a feeling it's where the liberation lies for me
Yes.
and what I need to move into with my job. Do you have any advice on how to transform this block with selling?
Yes, you have to imagine what you're selling. You're always selling something. And so, if the thing that you're selling is not aligned with your authentic self, then you might have a little bit of difficulty. And so, you have to answer that question first. And so, and you each will have this where are you selling something because you're trying to get the money and it's not aligned to your soul's purpose? Then you're going to have a little difficulty with selling. But some people are able to move over that. And we know that's not you, and that wouldn't be many of you. However, when you're finding that blockage, you have to say, am I in alignment with who I think I really am? Now, you could be, but you just may not have embraced it yet, which makes the selling so difficult. Means that you have discovered something about what you're doing or selling that is really authentic to you, but embodying that may not have happened yet. And that is just a belief in your consciousness again. So, but the first thing is to ask yourself a new question. Is what I'm selling really part of my life purpose? And sometimes this gets difficult because for many of you, it could be that, but it might not be the time on your plan or whatever where it's going to come about. But what we're feeling is that um, we're we're not sure, but it feels like the thing that you're selling is aligned with you, but you haven't maybe accepted your worth in being able to do it. And that's going to be the case for many of you in so many of the things that you're attempting to sell. Like for our messenger, he's had difficulty selling us. We told him he can't really do it. He has to explain it in a different way because what we're giving you is something that if we have to sell you, then you're not doing it well. You have to find that desire, you see. And so for you, you've got to see, is this thing really aligned with my soul's purpose? And just because you may not have sold it yet does not mean that you won't. It might just mean that you have to embody more of you to be able to do it. Thank you.
Is my mate coming this year?
If that's part of your plan, if that's part of your divine plan, it will be there. However, okay, you said we felt a different little energy with that. You're feeling that you need a mate. You're feeling like you're going to be so much more complete if you have this mate, and that will keep it from you because we want you to just open yourself to knowing that the right mate will be there if it's part of your plan and just be allowed to open to that. But we would like for you to do something because we have you all go through this process. We want you to decide what that mate is. We want you to write it all down and decide exactly what it is and all the qualities, all the characteristics, whatever it might be. And then we want you to ask, well, how would it cause you to feel? We don't want you to go to codependency, however. We want you to go into cooperation, meaning this mate will come together and then we're going to evolve together in a really cooperative way. I'm not coming into it from this codependent place like I need to have a mate so that I feel okay. So we just want you to make the distinctions and become quite aware of that. But the way that you said it, we're just feeling a bit of energy that you're judging yourself because you haven't had the mate or it hasn't shown up yet. If it's aligned with your path, it's going to show up. But we also would love for you to just do the process of deciding what that mate is, who it is, what do they possess, how is it going to complement your growth? How is it going to complement your life? Not from a place of need, but from a place of growth and expansion. Thank you.
My brother went missing in Belize on February 25th, 1992. The family never got clarity on anything. Has he
Mhm.
transitioned or still alive somewhere?
He's still alive. You're all still alive. Everyone who's gone is still alive. But there's something that you and your family are hanging on to about that memory. Now, there's something, but it was purposeful for all of you. Um, your soul is always here. But the instances that you have in something like that is to give each of you an opportunity to think about your human existence. That's all. And he was doing his part by giving you this thing to try to figure out. And if you need to know if he is still alive, you might not be living your life the way that he wanted you to, because that's probably why he left. And answering that question is not going to bring you any more clarity about how you're living your life now, because that question is still going to be there. And so just try to think of it in a new way. That he did this in a way to give each of you, each member of your family, and you have your own way. He gave each of you an opportunity to question your existence, to question why you're here and what you're meant to do. And so then if that information is meant to come to any of you, then it'll be revealed. We don't feel that it is, though. We feel that that is something that you may never answer. But the thing that you can answer is why you're here and what you're meant to do on this planet at this time. Thank you.
I want to clarify. I feel them physically as if they are me. So I feel physically in my solar plexus, especially. If someone is in love with me, I feel it as if I am with them even when I am not.
Hmm.
When I am around aggression, it is physically too much for me.
Hmm.
I am doing my best to not take that on. I didn't
Hmm.
think that was empathy or sympathy. Is it?
It is, you have a little bit of both going on there, which is wonderful because the aggression is you're attracting that because number one, your higher self wants you to get over it. Your higher self wants you to see it in a new way so that you don't have to keep attracting it to you. But even when the person comes with that aggression, the other part of you is saying, oh, they just don't understand who they are. So you see, you have all of that going on. So you're being given the opportunity to build more resilience within yourself so that the aggression doesn't frighten you. But then when you do see it, you'll start to shift your perception and know the person is only being that way because they just have not accepted what they are here to do. They just don't know who they are and they're acting in that manner. And so now you don't have to allow it to affect you, and then you probably won't attract that energy into your life any longer. So you've been given a little gift there.
Is there anything else I can do to call in the right tribe members for the path that is opening up right now?
Just keep affirming that it's right. Just keep affirming that this is what is supposed to happen, and trust in divine timing. That's all. Sometimes your paths will be challenging for you because you're going after it, but you don't have the full belief in it, or you're trying to go against your own timeline, because that could be that. But just affirm that the right thing is going to open up. And if it doesn't, then there'll be something else and you'll pivot to something different. But we want you to really, you're going to have to take some really deep dives into you to really ask new questions. Is this really what I'm meant to do? Or was I just doing it for this time to get to something else? And that's something only you will be able to answer. But we want to say it's not accidental that you're having this particular passage in your life because it's bringing you to that greater place. You each are doing that at this time. We want you to understand that because some of the places that you might have been going were not what was really for you, but it was still purposeful to get you to greater awareness. But now it's time, and this is why this full moon is so perfect for you, because it gives you some this time to reflect and look at this and decide, is this what I want to do? And is that what's going to come about? And if that is true, then the right people or whoever it is that you're attempting to bring in will start to show up. But you have to stop discounting it or thinking that it's not what you're going to do. But that's got to come from your heart again, because we're feeling that you're feeling that on a deep level you're supposed to do this, and so you may not have fully embraced that, but that'll come about. Just, but don't judge yourself for it. And then if it's not happening, then start doing, do, leave it there, and then start saying, okay, let me work on this as well. Let me do this other thing too, and see what starts to come about for you. Because there may be something else that's trying to emerge, and you're just maybe stuck in one place. We don't, so you're going to have to figure that out. But again, it's part of your life path, and it's coming about now because each of you during this time on your planet are coming to that authenticity, and it's a journey, and it's a journey of self-love and acceptance, and that's what you're coming to. Thank you.
And this is the last one. I recently started talking with a new girl, and I feel very deeply for her. I can also feel her depth, but that aspect of her feels trapped. Is there
Mhm.
anything I can do to help?
Um, we Okay, this is coming about for a reason. Yes, you can't fix it. We don't want you to go into that place. We're loving the fact that you're sensing something. And so then we want you to understand that there's a reason that you both are coming together to come to greater awareness. You could be exhibiting, bringing something that's going to give her a way to become untrapped, but we don't, if you go into it thinking you have to do something to try to fix her, it might be a little difficult. And we don't think that you're doing that. Otherwise, you wouldn't ask the question in that manner. And so we just want you to think about what can I do to love myself more that is an example for her. You see, because that example will then, what you're doing is going to, she'll see it and she'll start to, oh, okay, maybe I can go in this direction. Maybe I'll start doing that. It's just going to be a process because you can each, especially during this time, you can run into things that you kind of form these relationships that can be codependent. But the way that you said that, we don't believe that's you, but we're so grateful that you are aware of there's something in there that you haven't quite figured out yet. But just know that this came into not just for her, but for you to figure out how can I love myself that's more, that's going to be an example that's going to help her as well. Because that's what you're always doing. That's what all of you are always doing. Hmm. That's all we had? Good.
Yes, yes.
Okay. We want to say thank you. We want you each to know that you are at this pivotal time in your life and on your planet that is now time for you to take the next step in whatever that is. And we don't want you to judge yourself, as we said, because if you just go through the messages we gave you today, you'll see the process that we wanted you to understand. But we will say that you have reached a critical point where you've got to take that next place into your life of what you want to do and what's going to give you more joy and what's going to cause you to love yourself. That's going to be the most valuable thing that any of you could do at this time. And we want you to understand that the things that you are witnessing in your life and in the world are purposeful. And purposeful because they're causing you to awaken to higher states of consciousness if you don't judge yourself or them. That's the other part because you're going to see things that you're going to start to judge everyone else. Why are these horrible people here? And we want to say they're helping you to remember how brilliant you are and why you're here. And that is about coming to love yourself and do what you came to do. And thank you. We want to say we love you all so very much. Wow. Okay. Great. Thank you all.